This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
The Renaissance period occurred from the 15th century until the 17th century. This was the time when Romeo and Juliet had just married during their late teen years. Romeo and Juliet were actors and are commonly known for the Shakespeare play in which they acted. During the Renaissance period, most of the people were farmers who grew crops and maintained livestock. They produced for subsistence, and the surplus was sold. Men and women performed different roles in the household. The man was responsible for farming, while the woman took care of the poultry and dairy. She was also responsible for preserving food that would be consumed during winter. It was the work of the woman to look over the general health of the whole household, including the servants. There were two categories of people in society, the upper class and the common people. The upper class people married in their early teens, while the common class people often married in their 20s. In the upper class, marriages were arranged, and the parents chose spouses for the children. The church was not comfortable with the idea of forced marriages but could do very little about them. Money was the determining factor, and if you had it, then you had the power to decide what to do. The ordinary people were allowed to choose their spouses. Children from the upper classes were more often than not educated by tutors at their parents' homes. Those from the standard class would be sent away to noble households where they would be raised, and if they were lucky, they would also get an education. They would be taught how to write, sing, ride, hawk, and play some games such as chess. Boys were also taught how to use weapons, while girls would be shown how to sew and look after a household. In the urban centers, schools were set up to provide elementary education to both genders, and grammar schools were only for boys. At grammar school, boys learned Latin grammar and Greek, which became popular in the 16th century. Some would also learn music and mathematics, although very rarely. After completing their grammar schooling, successful candidates proceeded to universities that were absolutely male establishments. However, in Italy, girls, too, were allowed to go to universities. Most families had large households, and the women had many tasks to do. A woman was expected to respect and obey her husband at all times. She was expected to look after the family's estate in case her husband was not available. The man was expected to lead the family and care for the well-being of his wife and children. Women got pregnant quite often, and they would be assisted by midwives during childbirth. This was merely a female occasion, and the man would rarely be present during childbirth. Child mortality, as well as the mothers, was very high as a result of the unskilled midwives who assisted during delivery. Children were brought up in a strict manner and were expected to respect and obey their parents. In Italy, during the time of Romeo and Juliet, some boys would choose to become monks while girls became nuns. The monasteries in England were destroyed during the 1530s Reformation. Some monks and nuns were significant scholars in these monasteries. Children also learned music and dancing during the Renaissance period. In Italy, commedia dell'arte plays were performed by male and female actors, although in English theaters, boys always performed women's parts. This essay on the Renaissance time during Romeo and Juliet was written and submitted by a student just like you. The Ivy Panda Samples database hosts thousands of works similar to this one, on various subjects. Visit ivypanda.com to find what you are looking for, free of charge.